Hello, and welcome to Sletten Construction Companies. We would like to personally welcome you as you begin your position with this remarkable company. Sletten Construction Companies is an 87-year-old company with a history of changing and adapting to meet the needs of the construction market. Sletten Construction continues to build a solid foundation for our owners, employees, and the future of our company. Our commitment to safety has played a very important role in the success of our company. We believe that each and every one of us is a safety manager and has an important role to play to ensure a safe project and a safe working environment every day. It is also important that we have a constant and never wavering focus on improving safety, improving how we conduct our daily activities, eliminating risk, and improving daily safety and how we manage risk on the job. Rather than simply taking chances and ignoring unsafe conditions, we must pre-plan our work to help minimize the hazards and eliminate the risk of injury. Our mission statement and our company values also support this approach. Now is a particularly exciting time to join Sletten Construction. We are learning new ways to make the most of being part of a global economy in construction and its expertise and resources. And we have our own initiatives underway for transforming Sletten Construction into the engaging and dynamic company that we aspire to be, and a leader in safety in the construction industry. We are proud of our employees and the excellent work they are doing. We are pleased and happy to welcome you to our company and look forward to your contributions to our success. Thank you.
My name is Jeremy Garness. I've been working for Sletten Construction in various areas since July 1997. I'm currently now in the Great Falls shop. I'm here to talk to you today about the decisions you make at work and how shortcuts can affect your family and your life. On July 12, 2010, I took a shortcut at work and it left me burned on 65% of my body. They life flighted me to Harborview Medical Center where I spent 69 days, initially 58 in the ICU and 10 on the main floor, going through 11 different surgeries. I was released on September 18, 2010. Went back to work part-time October 22nd, 2010 and was released to full duty on December 10th, 2010. I went through 3 other surgeries after my initial surgery, so I did a total of 14 surgeries, nearly 100 days in the hospital, several years of rehab. I was burned on my torso, my chest, my back, circumferential, both arms, my left hand, part of my face, lost part of my left ear. Just the decisions you make at work can affect you before you know it. So I totally encourage everybody to take a second, think about what you're doing, think about how you're going to do it, and do it the right way the first time. Don't take any shortcuts, no matter the circumstances. I hope each and every one of you take something away from this today and it sticks with you and makes you think about things when you're out there on the job and doing what you're asked to do. And want every one of you to return safe to your family at night and to your job the next day, and welcome to the Sletten family.
Safety goals for this project: 0 accidents, 0 injuries, and compliance with all OSHA regulations. We can accomplish this by working together as a team and not taking shortcuts. What is a job hazard analysis? A job hazard analysis, also known as a JHA, and also called a Job Safety Analysis, or JSA, is a technique to identify the dangers of specific tasks in order to reduce the risk of injury to workers. Why is a JHA important?
Once you know what the hazards are, you can reduce or eliminate them before anyone gets hurt. The JHA can also be used to investigate accidents and to train workers how to do their job safely. JHAs must be completed for all major tasks, including excavation, scaffolding, lockout-tagout, confined space, fall protection, framing, chipping, demo, concrete forming and concrete pours, and many others. It will take a little time to do your JHAs, but it's time well spent. Be sure to involve employees in the process. They do the work and often know the best ways to work more safely. Safety toolbox huddles are required daily and must be signed by all employees in attendance.
PPE. The personal protection equipment required on all Sletten construction projects consists of safety glasses, reflective vest, hard hat, sleeved shirt, long pants, and boots. Hearing protection is to be worn whenever the noise level is above 85 decibels. And fall protection should be worn when working 6 foot above any level. Be sure to wear gloves when needed. Employees must be trained on equipment to be used on site. This includes forklifts, snorkel lifts, boom lifts, and cranes. Please make sure to have your proof of training on you at all times.
All equipment being operated on site must have a daily documented inspection form available on the equipment.
Ladders. When assessing another level, the ladder must extend at least 3 feet above the landing to provide a handhold for getting on and off the ladder. The ladder must be secured at the top and the bottom. The ladder must be inspected prior to use, and if any defects are noted, the ladder must be taken out of service. When setting up an extension ladder, it should be set up at a 4-to-1 ratio. Only use a ladder in the fully open position on firm, level ground. Do not use a stepladder that is folded or in a leaning position. And never sit or stand on the top 2 rungs. Consider work height when selecting a stepladder. Use the proper ladder for the job. Make sure the ladder is set up on a stable surface and the landing area is free of any debris. Housekeeping. All work areas, walkways, stairways, access, and egress points shall be maintained to remain clean and free of debris and materials. Work areas shall be cleaned as often as necessary to eliminate trip, slip, and fall hazards. Focus areas include scaffolds, ladders, ramps, stairs, electrical and mechanical equipment. Subcontractors are responsible for their own daily cleanup. Good housekeeping promotes a safe and productive work environment and is a critical element in the safe execution and completion of Sletten projects. Please throw your lunch away in a proper trash container. If you don't have a container, please ask for one. Fall protection. The superintendent of each contractor on site shall oversee all aspects of the fall protection program on the job site.
Every contractor on site whose employees are exposed to fall protection shall have a competent person oversee all aspects of the fall protection PPE.
OSHA requires that fall protection be provided at elevations of 6 feet or more in the construction industry. In addition, OSHA requires that fall protection be provided when working over dangerous equipment and machinery, regardless of the fall distance. Components of fall protection systems shall be inspected prior to each use for mildew, wear, damage, and other deterioration. Defective components shall be removed from service if their function or strength has been adversely affected. Personal fall arrest systems will be mandatory for every person on this project when working at a height of 6 feet or more when no conventional fall protection is in place. Conventional fall protection system consists of a guardrail system with the top rail of 42 inches and the mid-rail of 21 inches. The guardrail system must be able to withstand a force of 200 pounds upward, inward, and outward. Personal fall arrest systems consist of the following type of equipment: full body harness, lanyard, horizontal and/or vertical lifelines, self-retracting lifelines, anchorages able to support 5,000 pounds, or if the system is engineered, 3,600 pounds. 100% tie-off is required for the site when using a personal fall arrest system. Each contractor on site that has employees working in an excavation shall have a designated competent person on the job site. The competent person shall be on site at all times during which excavation activities are conducted. All excavations over 5 feet deep shall be shored, sloped, or benched as required. Excavations 4 feet in depth or greater shall have a stairway, ladder, ramp, or other safe means of egress within 25 feet of any employee. Each employee who works in or around an excavation shall be trained to recognize potential hazards associated with excavations, such as cave-in potential, fall hazards, safe entry and exit, proximity to excavating equipment, air quality, backfilling and compacting activities, protective systems, etc. What is the difference between an excavation and a trench? OSHA defines an excavation as any man-made cut, cavity, trench, or depression in the Earth's surface formed by earth removal. This can include excavations for anything from cellars to highways. A trench is defined as a narrow, underground excavation that is deeper than it is wide and no wider than 15 feet. Scaffolds. If the scaffold is owned, leased, rented, or is under control of Sletten companies or any subcontractor, prior to their employees accessing the scaffold, they will acknowledge that one of their employees is competent in scaffolding and that he has inspected the scaffold prior to use, and also that their employees are properly trained in scaffold use and fall protection. All scaffolds shall be built and maintained in accordance with the manufacturer's specifications and, if applicable, the engineered drawings. OSHA's scaffolding standard has several key provisions. Fall protection or fall arrest systems. Each employee more than 10 feet above a lower level shall be protected from falls by guardrails or a fall arrest system, except those on single-point and two-point adjustable suspension scaffolds. Each employee on a single-point and two-point adjustable suspension scaffold shall be protected by both a personal fall arrest system and a guardrail system. Guardrail height. The height of the top rail for scaffolds is 42 inches plus or minus 3 inches. The height of the mid-rail for scaffolds can be between 21 inches plus or minus 3 inches. Each scaffold and scaffold component must support without failure its own weight and at least 4 times the maximum intended load applied or transmitted to it. Lockout, tagout, and confined space. When a specific task being performed by any employee on the job site requires performing lockout, tagout, or confined space, a job site JHA must be filled out by the contractor performing the work before any work starts. Each employee engaged in the work must have the proper training to perform the task safely and correctly. If you encounter either of these situations and you are not trained, you must stop work immediately. The site shall comply with the Individual Emergency Action Plan, also known as EAP, for direction of emergency transportation. Please see each site's individual plan for evacuation. In the event of a medical emergency requiring medical response, immediately call 911 or the site's designated emergency response number and clearly give your name, location, and the nature of the incident. Stay on the line until the operator releases you. Working above water. Employees working over or near water shall be provided with a U.S. Coast Guard approved life jacket or buoyant work vest when the danger of drowning exists. If the deck of a bridge or a work platform is not equipped with an OSHA compliant railing system, or if 100% fall protection is not provided, employees walking or working on deck must wear a U.S. Coast Guard approved life jacket or buoyant work vest, also called a life preserver or personal flotation device, a PFD. If an employee is working in an aerial lift basket above water and the basket can fall into the water, the employee needs a U.S. Coast Guard approved life jacket or buoyant work vest, also called a life preserver or personal flotation device. Hand tools. Not only do you need to utilize hand tools properly, but the tool needs to be in good shape. Take a moment before using any hand tool to ensure that it is in good shape. Things to look for include a hammer with a chipped head and/or with a loose or broken handle, a screwdriver with a worn or broken tip, any cutting tool with a dull surface, chisels with a mushroomed head, tools that have had their temper removed. Hand tools can be as dangerous as power tools. Make sure you use them correctly. If you encounter a broken hand tool, please turn it in to the superintendent to be replaced. Focus on safety. Preventing the top 4 construction fatalities. 1. Fall hazards. 2. Electrical hazards. 3. Struck by hazards. And 4. Caught in between hazards. What occupations have the highest number of deaths from falls? Construction laborers, roofers, carpenters, painters, iron workers. Falls are number 1. Falls are the leading cause of construction fatalities. Falls accounted for 35% of construction deaths nationwide. What are the main causes of fall fatalities? Unprotected sides and edges, roof and wall openings, and floor holes or floor openings. Improper scaffold construction, improper use of portable ladders, falls from girders and structural steel, unguarded protruding steel rebar. Electrical hazards are number 2. Electrocutions are the second leading cause of construction fatalities. Electrocutions accounted for 10% of construction deaths nationwide in 2010. Workers can even be killed by ordinary household current. What are the main causes of electrical injuries? Contact with overhead power lines, contact with live circuits, poorly maintained power cords, improper use of power tools. How can you work around overhead power lines safely? Locate overhead lines before starting the job. Keep equipment at least 10 feet away. Assume that the power lines are energized. De-energize and ground the lines when working nearby. Use wood or fiberglass ladders near power lines, still keeping at least 10 feet away. Struck by hazards. Struck by hazards are number 3. Struck by hazards are the third leading cause of construction fatalities. Struck by fatalities account for 8% of construction deaths nationwide. Approximately 75% of struck by fatalities involve heavy equipment. 1 in 4 struck by vehicle deaths involve construction workers more than any other occupation. What are the main causes of struck by deaths? Vehicle and roadway hazards, falling objects and flying objects. Caught in between hazards are number 4. Caught in between hazards are the fourth leading cause of construction fatalities. Caught in between deaths accounted for 4% of construction fatalities nationwide. What are the main causes of caught in between deaths? Being crushed by collapsing materials, such as in a trench or excavation. Being caught or in between machinery and equipment. Equipment rollover. Stop work. Who has the authority? Stop work authority. Stand up for safety. Do it safely or not at all. Who has stop work authority? What are the hazards? What workers are involved? Are you trained? Will you stop unsafe work? Is there a contingency plan? These are questions that you should ask yourself. Historically, Sletten Construction has always supported the philosophy of stand up for safety, stop the job, and/or stop work authority. Ensuring personnel feel empowered, we will continue our stop the job focus and embed this message with all of our employees. Stand up for safety. What are the hazards? Are the hazards flammable? Are they falls? Or gases, corrosives, or electricity? Are the hazards cave-ins or harmful dust, etc.? Who are the right people involved? Do all the workers know the job? Are all equipment and tools in proper working order? Have you had the proper training? Are you trained on the specific equipment and/or tools required? How long has it been since you were trained? What can we do differently? If in doubt, stop the job. Planning ahead? Plan ahead for the task. Develop a job hazard analysis and where required personal protective equipment. Who are the right people involved? Is this the right crew? Do we have the correct management for the job? Are you trained for the specific task? Are you trained on the equipment or tools required? Are you trained for the task, such as confined space, lockout, tagout, or fall protection? Are you trained on the equipment or tools required for the job? Questions to ask. Will you stop unsafe work? Are you sure it is safe to begin work? What surrounding work may impact your safety? Did something unforeseen happen after starting the job? Do you have a contingency plan? What is the worst thing that can happen? How will you stay safe if something happens? You have the authority and obligation to stop the job until you are satisfied it is safe to proceed. Global harmonization. New label elements and safety data sheets, or SDS. Label format, Description of pictograms. Health hazard pictogram. Health hazard chemicals pose a risk to your health if used improperly. Skull and crossbones pictogram. The skull and crossbones pictogram will usually be used in combination with a health hazard pictogram to signify particularly hazardous chemicals. Chemicals with acute toxicity, fatal or toxic, are chemicals that will produce adverse effects following a single dose of the substance. The exclamation mark pictogram will usually be used in combination with a health hazard pictogram to signify particular health risks, which are less severe than the skull and crossbones category. The flame pictogram indicates there is a fire risk, and you should be especially concerned about ignition sources and combustible materials. Flame over circle pictogram. Chemicals labeled with a flame over circle can create an increased fire risk in your work or storage environment. Oxidizers are chemicals that produce additional oxygen in an environment, which may cause or contribute to the combustion of other materials. Corrosion pictogram. The corrosion label should prompt you to be especially aware of PPE and storage requirements. Exploding bomb pictogram. Chemicals marked with an exploding bomb pose a significant physical risk and should be treated with extreme caution. The gas cylinder pictogram is used to identify compressed, liquefied, and dissolved gases. Understand the hazards of high pressures and how to use and store cylinders. The environment pictogram is a non-mandatory category for safety training because it is regulated by other agencies, but it is included here for your information. Signal words. Pay attention to the signal word on the new labels. The signal word, warning or danger, is determined by the level or risk for each chemical on each hazard. For example, if a chemical is labeled as a health hazard and the health hazard statement indicates that it is a carcinogen, warning means the substance is suspected of causing cancer. Danger means the substance may cause cancer. In other words, there's more scientific evidence that the chemical will cause an increased risk of cancer if used improperly. Either way, warning or danger, always follow the proper precautions.
Information is available on osha.gov. Zone pay. When the rate of pay on a project includes zone pay, the zone pay is designated as an incentive to work on this job site and shall not be considered a reimbursement for the cost of travel, gas, oil, or lodging. Motor vehicle training. Motor vehicles should be inspected at the beginning of each shift and report any deficiencies to supervisor or employer. Remove any defective equipment from service until repairs are made. All installed safety devices, reverse alarm, reverse activated cameras, mirrors, and windows should be in good and working order. When possible, the first movement in a vehicle should be forward. Forward first. Special caution should be made whenever backing up on the job site. In the case of an obstructed view, the vehicle must have a reverse signal alarm audible above the surrounding noise level or use a spotter when backing a vehicle. Drivers should maintain contact with the spotter when backing and should immediately stop if contact with the spotter is lost. Worker on-foot training. Be aware of equipment travel paths and avoid standing or walking in these areas. Be aware of vehicle blind areas and avoid being near these areas. Listen for reverse signal alarms in the area. Stay vigilant.
Section 15, Regulatory Information, identifies the safety, health, and environmental regulations specific for the product that is not indicated anywhere else on the safety data sheet. Section 16, Other Information, includes the date of preparation or last revision. Site emergency reporting, an emergency action plan, and accident, incident, near-miss reporting procedures are as follows. In the event of an emergency, contact 911 or the job site's designated emergency reporting number. The assembly point for a site evacuation is to be discussed on a site-by-site basis during this orientation. Evacuation maps will be posted on the job site. Employees should know where to assemble in the event of a job site evacuation. Do not leave the assembly point until you have been accounted for by your company and your supervisor has given that information to a Sletten representative. All injuries, incidents, and near misses must be reported immediately to a member of Sletten management team, regardless of how insignificant the incident may seem. An accident, incident, or near-miss investigation must be conducted by the affected subcontractor and turned into a Sletten management representative within 24 hours of the incident. Why do we report near misses? To learn from the events and prevent future occurrences. There is statistical data that suggests for every 300 near misses, there will be one catastrophic event. We want to examine near-miss incidents and prevent the near-miss incident from ever becoming a catastrophic event. This is what an example of an evacuation map should look like. Fire prevention and protection plans. A fire extinguisher rated not less than 2A shall be provided for each 3,000 square feet of the protected building area or major fraction thereof. Travel distance from any point of the protected area to the nearest fire extinguisher shall not exceed 100 feet. All firefighting equipment provided by the employer shall be conspicuously located and have the applicable monthly and annual inspections. Any hot work, which means all temporary operations involving open flames or producing heat and/or sparks, requires a hot work permit. This includes, but is not limited to, brazing, cutting, grinding, soldering, thawing, and welding. A designated fire watch will be stationed in the work area during and for 30 minutes after the work, including any coffee or lunch breaks. The designated fire watch cannot have any other duties other than fire watch and will be trained in hazard recognition and have the authority to stop the work as necessary. Let's understand that a fire extinguisher is meant for a fire in the incipient stage, meaning beginning. Small stage, a trash can size fire. Let's understand the different types of fire extinguishers. The most common type of fire extinguisher is the ABC type, which covers Type A, Type B, and Type C fires. But let's go ahead and look at the individual types. Type A fire extinguishers are intended for ordinary combustibles such as wood, paper, cloth, and most plastics. Your building or home is considered an ordinary combustible. Type B fire extinguishers are intended for flammable liquids such as oils, gasoline, and solvents, etc. Type C fire extinguishers are intended for energized electrical fires. Type D fire extinguishers are intended for specialized metals such as magnesium, titanium, aluminum, sodium, and potassium. Type K, just remember, it is for the kitchen. Cooking fires with animal or vegetable oils. Let's discuss the components of a fire extinguisher. The safety pin, which must be secured in place. The nozzle. The pressure gauge. The extinguisher needs to be fully charged and the gauge needs to be in the green. The handle. The high-pressure gas canister. Make sure there is no visible damage. The canister contents can be dry chemical, carbon dioxide, or water. When inspecting it, make sure there are no cracks and the handle is not broken. How to use a fire extinguisher. Use the pass system. P. Pull the pin. A. Aim the nozzle at the base of the flames. S. Squeeze the handle. S. Sweep from side to side. Annual inspections must be conducted by a licensed fire extinguisher maintenance company. The annual inspection tag must reflect the date of inspection. The recorded inspection date must be within the last calendar year. Monthly inspections and prior to use inspections. Is the extinguisher intact? Tank, trigger, handle, hose, gauge. Is the gauge in the green? Fully charged. Is the pin in the handle and secured? This is to prevent accidental discharge. If the pin is out or previously pulled, it is considered discharged. Is the annual inspection tag attached or affixed and legible? Fire prevention. Keep work areas clear and free of debris. No smoking or open flames around flammable liquids. Use only approved safety gas cans. Do not block doors, aisles, ladders, or stairs. Do not tamper with fire equipment. Fire rules. The final rule is to always position yourself with an exit or means of escape at your back before you attempt to use an extinguisher to put out a fire. In case the extinguisher malfunctions or something unexpected happens, you need to be able to get out quickly, and you don't want to become trapped. Just remember, always keep an exit at your back. Natural silica awareness training. What is silica? Silica is one of the most common naturally occurring elements on the planet. Silica, the mineral compound silicon dioxide, is found in two forms, crystalline and non-crystalline, also referred to as amorphous. Sand and quartz are common examples of crystalline silica. When is silica a hazard for construction workers? Materials that contain crystalline silica are not hazardous unless they are disturbed, generating small-sized particles that can get into your lungs. Respirable crystalline silica. For example, blasting, cutting, chipping, drilling, and grinding materials that contain silica can result in silica dust that is hazardous for construction workers and others to breathe. What construction materials contain silica? Many common construction materials contain silica, including, for example, blowing dust, brick, cement, concrete, drywall, grout, mortar, stone, sand, and tile. How much silica dust is too much? It only takes a very small amount of the very fine respirable silica dust to create a health hazard. OSHA Regulation 29 CFR 1926.55A requires construction employers to keep worker exposures at or below a permissible exposure level of 0.1. More information about the hazard and links to examples of exposures can be found at OSHA.gov. In 1996, the World Health Organization, International Agency on Cancer Research, identified crystalline silica as a known human carcinogen. They reaffirmed this position in 2009. The American Thoracic Society and the American College of Occupational and Environmental Medicine have also recognized the adverse health effects of exposure to crystalline silica, including lung cancer.
The easiest way to ensure you are adequately protecting your workers from silica dust exposure and complying with OSHA's new rule is to follow Table 1. Table 1 outlines 18 tasks commonly associated with respirable silica dust exposure. For each task in Table 1, there are engineering controls or work practices to implement to prevent exceeding the permissible exposure limit, PEL, to respirable crystalline silica. In addition to the engineering controls and work practices, Table 1 also details what, if any, respiratory protection is required. Under the new rule, employers are required to create a written exposure control plan and make it available to all employees. The written plan should contain the following: description of all tasks that involve exposure to respirable crystalline silica, details on the engineering control methods, work practices, and respiratory protection required for each task to limit exposure, housekeeping practices to be used to limit exposure, methods used to restrict access to work areas to limit the number of employees from being exposed to silica dust.
What is silicosis? Silicosis is a disabling, irreversible, and sometimes fatal lung disease. When a worker inhales crystalline silica, the lungs react by developing hard nodules and scarring around the trapped silica particles. If the nodules become too large, breathing becomes difficult and death can result. The risk of silicosis is high for workers in several industries, including the construction industry, according to the Center for Disease Control, the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, and the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. How to wear a disposable respirator. Place the respirator under chin with nose piece up. Mold the nose piece to the shape of the nose. Fit check. Negative fit check. Cup hands over respirator without excessive pressure. Breathe in sharply. A light collapse of the respirator should be felt with no air leaking in around the face-to-face piece seal. Positive fit check. Cup hands over respirator. Blow out. A buildup of air should be felt with no air leaking around the face-to-face piece seal. How should I avoid bringing dust home on my clothes? The National Institute for Occupational Safety recommends that workers avoid bringing silica dust home from work by changing into disposable or washable work clothes on the work site, showering, if possible, and changing into clean clothes before leaving the work site to prevent contamination of other work areas, cars, and homes. Parking your car where it will not be contaminated with silica. When applicable, where there are high concentrated levels of silica present, there will be an option of disposable overalls available. Where can I find out about silica-related rules and regulations? OSHA is the primary source for information on regulations that cover silica exposures and measures employers are required to take to protect their employees. To learn more, go to OSHA Silica-Related Standards for Construction.
Here at Sletten Construction, we strictly adhere to the procedures put in place during this COVID pandemic. Social distancing is a must on construction sites. The following practices promote social distancing and prevent the spread of germs and viruses. Please try to avoid handshakes or close conversation when not wearing a mask. Toolbox gatherings should be less than 15 people. Otherwise, break into smaller groups. Always keep a 6-foot distance between employees. This includes lunch areas during lunch and break periods. Please wear a mask if you need to work within a 6-foot distance and when required to travel in job site buggies with 2 or more employees. If possible, do not stack trays. When performing tailgate meetings, you must meet outdoors or in large open areas. You must also disinfect your phone or tablet, clipboards, and pens for sign-in sheets that have been passed around to the crew. On the job site, it is important to keep the restroom sanitized daily, cleaned and emptied weekly, or more if needed. Please keep all site locations clean and sanitized for daily trash such as paper, hand towels, food containers, etc. You must also instruct workers to wash hands after using the restroom and before and after breaks and lunches. Hand washing stations should be provided with soap and water in the workplace. Ensure that adequate supplies are maintained. Encourage hand hygiene. Workers need to clean their hands often with an alcohol-based hand sanitizer that contains at least 60 to 95% alcohol, or wash their hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. Soap and water should be used if hands are visibly dirty. We strongly encourage employees, subcontractors, and vendors to bring their own personal protection equipment and should not share tools, water bottles, hand towels, or food and lunches. Together, we can help stop the spread. Stay safe and please wear a mask.
If you have any questions, please ask the project superintendent. Thank you and welcome to Sletten Companies. Be safe.